So, welcome to Story Bin Writers Room Improv with Jeff Kitchen. Here we have Catherine Clinch and Joanne Butcher, fascinating guests. Catherine, can you introduce yourself, please?
Sure, I'm Catherine Clinch. I've been a television writer since 1979. I joined the Writers Guild in 1980. I currently chair the Career Longevity Committee at the Writers Guild, and I've been on the board of directors. I've chaired other committees. I'm very dedicated to my union. And I started out writing police procedural and all the boys shows, Hunter, Jake and the Fat Man, Knight Rider, and then I did Love Boat, Heart to Heart, Foul Play, True Confessions, and I got to develop a lot of movies at the time. And then I kind of hit that age where, we're less valuable, we're not as cute anymore. And I switched over to technology and university education. I pioneered an area in mobile, I have 3 technology patents in mobile entertainment, but I pioneered an area in social media strategy and content marketing, which goes way beyond what's out there and deals with the technical aspects of why things go viral. So right now, I'm just looking to have a good time and play at building a story.
And Joanne Butcher.
My name is Joanne Butcher. I'm a business coach for filmmakers, and I help filmmakers create a marketable script before getting that script funded, produced, and distributed globally. So I mostly work on the business side, things to do with money, things to do with business.
Okay, so let's pick a story idea.
My name is Joanne Butcher. I'm a business coach for filmmakers, and I help filmmakers create a marketable script before getting that script funded, produced, and distributed globally. So I mostly work on the business side, things to do with money, things to do with business.
Okay, so let's pick a story idea. Number 17. A group of feisty old ladies decide to take down a local drug dealer because he's ruining their neighborhood. It's a suicide mission, but it works, and so they decide to do a major takedown.
I like that.
I thought it was great. I will go and see this movie immediately.
Okay, so there's the story idea, and we're just playing with it. So anybody can jump in with any kind of take on it, build the characters any way you want. You can adjust the story any way you want. This is really just a springboard for.
Yeah, I wonder where they live. Do they live in a little tiny place, or do they live in a city? I just keep seeing. I traveled across the country this year, and I keep seeing this extraordinarily tiny place. And there was a cafe, but it was closed. But everybody met at the McDonald's, and I thought,
Hmm,
ooh, that's a 21st century thing.
That happens
yeah.
here. The McDonald's and Starbucks. There's a fabulous Starbucks down on La Cienega before you get to the 405 entrance. And if you go down there on Saturday, all these guys are there. They're playing dominoes. They're talking about books they've read. It's just so exciting. I started, when I was teaching on Saturdays, I always made sure I would stop down there. And that kind of energy is great.
Yes, yes.
So I think I would rather see Starbucks
Okay, Starbucks.
because it's traditionally it skews younger than McDonald's.
And you were saying, would it be like a small town or a big city or somewhere in between? I know from living in a small town of about 1,200 people in Vermont that it
Small.
sounds uncompressed, but it's actually kind of a pressure cooker in its own way because everybody knows everybody
Yeah.
to a large degree. So there's more eyes on everything in a certain way. than in a big city where a lot of people don't pay attention to certain things.
Yeah, it might be fun if there's this sort of pressure cooker atmosphere, and everybody knows that the drug dealer is up the road, but nobody says anything.
Right.
You know where I think it would be fun to set this? Clearwater Beach, Florida.
Oh,
I went to high school in Clearwater Beach, not
yeah.
willingly. I came down from Manhattan and I got brought down there. And I was just back from my 45th high school reunion 5 years ago. Now we're setting up the 50th for this fall. And I spent a lot of time driving around. And it is still this sleepy old place that definitely fits the idea of God's waiting room.
Yes.
You know, the little speed bumps on the side. Every cliche joke you can think is still there. But the Church of Scientology has taken over downtown Clearwater and the Jack Tar House Hotel, and they have watchers everywhere, security watchers. And I think that makes it have an added element. And they totally redid downtown. It's beautiful. There's a great Starbucks. And by the same token, it's a tourist place for being a sleepy beach town that's not quite so sleepy anymore. And so when you have a thing like that, you've got a little bit of, city, you've got a little bit of beach town and quiet, and you've got a lot of locations where nobody could be watching. Because most people in some areas of Clearwater Beach go to bed really early, like 9 or earlier. That's why they have the early bird specials for dinner at 4 o'clock.
Right.
I just heard about this Scientology thing, and I think that's extremely interesting.
Yeah.
And you, Joanne, you just moved to Hollywood, Florida, you said.
Yep, I'm in Florida.
There we
I
go.
can go over there and check it out.
The added element of having watchers kind of lurking in the area adds a different flavor to it as well. It's intriguing.
Maybe there's some enmeshment between the drug dealer and the Scientologist.
The Scientologists are there, the watchers, the security guys, are there to protect the church and the church people.
Right. So they would potentially even see things and not want to say anything because it raises a stir that they don't need or something.
Right.
Yes, and
Plus, Tom Cruise's son lives there, and Tom Cruise is down there a lot. So we could have Tom Cruise be part of the movie without even casting him. Oh, there he goes.
Right.
We'll go here because over there, they're all waiting for Tom Cruise to come in down the causeway. Yeah, that would work.
So these ladies meet at the Starbucks every morning for their coffee and morning bun, and somehow they find out about this drug deal, and maybe they complain a lot.
Oh, you know what? One of them is a former teacher, and he was in her class. And she always knew he was bad news.
Right.
And this is a place that has Friday night lights.
What's Friday night?
Friday night, it's all about high school football.
Oh.
I mean, if you don't show up at the football game, what are you thinking?
Right.
That's where everything happens on Friday. And they call it Friday Night Lights because the big football lights.
Right.
They have a great stadium. It's a really good high school still, but everybody gets out at 1 o'clock because they have to go work a job, which I find fascinatingly, I won't go there, but it's a place where there are distinct events and things going on. And I think it could be fun.
Is that the big climax where they catch the drug dealer?
Well, that would be a good place for him to be doing business, one would think.
Right.
Right. And what this story is saying is that they take one of them out and then get ambitious and decide to go for a much bigger thing.
Go for the whole crew. Yeah. But I'm curious about these ladies. I feel as though I want to know more about them and what brings them together and what differentiates them.
Well, if one of them was a teacher,
Sure. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There's a broad spectrum of possibilities there, all the way from like, a ruler wielding nun to whatever. And the other thing that occurred to me when you said teacher is, if she had this kid in her class, then maybe his street name is like Sugar Death, or what, like some amped up, and she calls him Montclair, which is like his real name. It's just a kind of a,
That's great.
so,
She's been following him all these years since high school.
Hmm.
She's been following what he's up to, and she's been able to keep tabs on him because she would have to go to his house when he didn't show up for school or something.
Hmm.
So she
right.
knows.
She wouldn't have to. That's not a thing they do.
Okay.
She would be the teacher who would show up and go, "You weren't here in school today, so here's your homework. It's due tomorrow," you know? And what if they were all former teachers, different grades?
Do they,
Interesting.
do they all,
Nobody ever gives teachers their due. And I got to
Uh-huh.
tell you, middle school teachers are the saints. Because I had three sons. And I have to tell you, middle school is where whatever your religious beliefs, you sit there and go, descended from apes. That would make, a reason for so much of this stuff.
Yeah. Would we be thinking like 3 women, 4 women?
I think 3 women and 2 men, maybe.
but they're all
Okay.
ladies, a group of feisty old ladies. I wanted it to be all ladies.
Okay, well, it could be 4 women and maybe 1 gay guy.
Sure.
Florida.
Women tend to have a lot of gay friends. Some
like
women.
that.
I
I
shouldn't
like
make a colossal
No,
thing.
but I like that. I like that. That's a nice twist.
Could maybe even be like a cross dresser or something, like dresses as a lady, seems like one of the ladies.
Let's just make them gay.
Sure. And they would have various capabilities. You never know what
I
people have
listened
grown
to
up doing or something like that.
I know of a story like that. A friend of mine, his 90-year-old mother had lived in her house for, 40 years, and the house next door was acquired by a drug dealer. That was very scary because once this person owns the house, there's nothing really you can do.
Yeah.
Well, there's things you can do, but they may not be legal, polite, or
Well,
Right.
this group of old ladies does not care about legal, but something has to push them to not care about legal. Something has to push them over the edge that they would go from being 4 nice retired teachers meeting at Starbucks to clambering over walls and things.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of like Going in Style meets one of these stories where the new principal carries a baseball bat and takes no shit from anybody.
yeah. Well, one could have a cane.
Okay.
I'm looking for this one picture I took when I was there that just kind of says so much about the place. This is a picture I took at twilight. There are no filters here. It does that at twilight because it's right on the Gulf.
Yep. Wow.
So that can be a plot point. But just keep talking. I'll keep scrolling and I'll find it.
In terms of tone, it seems as though there's an element of danger, but that it's comedic as well.
Oh, it's got to be comedic.
Yeah.
It's got to
Yeah.
be.
Because
You've got to love these women.
when I
Yeah.
saw the story, I thought about Widows, but Widows was quite dark in the end, and I felt as though much lighter version could be really fun.
Yeah.
Right. And depending on what kind of situation they get into as they try to take down this dealer, are they like taking over a room with baseball bats and handguns, or are they talking their way into it?
I see them more with their cane and their handbags.
Yeah, they're
Uh-huh.
scolding their way in. They are just scolding their way in. And, I mean, you give them their due. I just think there's a lot there to play with characters and their relationships and all their backstories. And all their backstories, I'm sorry, I had to go there. So,
And also just this teacher's relationship with this dealer, like some people are really like badmouth everything, but you put a certain person type in front of them and they're like, yes, ma'am. No, you're right. I'm sorry. I don't know if there's any of that in
I
play.
think you would stand up, but I think that they would keep coming. And that's going to make the guys who work for him go like, come on, 'cause you're going to let this woman walk all over, this old lady walk all over you?
Uh-huh.
And then, of course, they know that kid's grandma from the
Yep.
senior citizen center, They're all active in their town. I think all of them were activists when they were younger. They were all in a teachers union. They were all fighting for, what are the rights? How are we going to get better education? I remember when I was there, we were 48th in the nation in education funding.
Hmm.
And of course, now you have all of the socio-political aspects that are going on,
Right.
which are not necessarily in anybody's best interest, but we could make this a Disney movie. Two birds, one stone.
Totally. And so if they take out this first dealer, what would that actually look like?
Well, they would take out a couple of his guys first. But here's what I was looking for. This is a picture, again, no filter. Druid Road and Shady Lane, no outlet, it's a dead end, and look at the tree with the eyes.
Oh my
Oh, yeah.
Around the block,
Wow.
I had to come back and take that picture.
Wow.
I used to live off of Druid Road when I was there. And this was not my happy place, by the way. This was, I came from Manhattan, and I was studying art at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. And when I asked where you could get art supplies, they said, oh, you can just go to Eckerd Drugs. You get all 8 colors and it comes with a little brush. They even have poster board there you can paint on. I was just like, how do I get back to New York today? But I was in high school, so it was just I loved high school. I had a great high school experience. That was like, massively transformative to me. But this is a place where this is how we do things. And if you don't like that, you don't have to be here. And I think there's a value to that with someone who has just lived there all their lives. It's a really well-kept place. I mean, the houses are now being bought online just by people who are going to come down and tear them down and build something new, the snow bunnies. And it's got all these dynamics of place that, ever since I went back to 45, I was like, oh, there's stories here. And I think that, that's probably one of the reasons. I loved getting back in touch with old friends from high school. And there's a lot of us, surprisingly, and it was great. But I also sat there thinking, you don't hear about this place, and it has a film commission, by the way, because this is where they did the dolphin movie. I can't think of the name of it.
But it was missing a tail, and they built a, what do you call it, tail for it, and it worked.
Yeah, synthetic tail. So,
Yes. So if they're picking off henchmen, that means they like throw one of them in a trunk and deliver them to the cops with drugs on them and that kind of thing. They're just.
Plus, there's another place that they can be doing these things because there is, of course, a pirate ship in town.
Huh.
It's a full-size pirate ship. They use it for the Gasparilla Parade. And it's called Pirates Ransom.
Well, that's a
Full-size.
good place to do a set piece battle or something like that.
I think so. With canes, fighting.
Right. Like sword fighting, yeah.
Yeah. So
Because
there is a value to going back to your high school reunion.
the drug dealer and his henchmen are so thrown off by the age of these ladies, and they're just completely outwitted.
This is where they store their goods. on the pirate ship,
on the pirate ship.
one of the barrels, you know?
Right, hiding it in public.
Yeah.
You have to go there in the middle of the night, but nobody's looking or something like that.
One of them has a part-time job working there during tourist season.
One
And
of
in the off
one
season,
of the feisty ladies. One
I'm
of the,
sorry?
One of the drug dealers, or
One of the drug dealers.
one of the drug dealers.
Yeah, one of the henchmen. And so that's where they stash their stuff because nobody's expecting it. It's a tourist attraction.
And I think this first layer of the first local drug dealer, they are very much wannabe gangsters.
Yeah.
They are
Yeah.
absolutely in no way gangsters. They're completely useless. They are really easily overcome. But the ladies get very full of themselves, so they decide to go up a few levels, and then they really encounter some serious problems.
Well, let's go back to the original story we talked about where one of them has a grandson who almost ODs. And they've got that pen that you keep to plunge into the heart if someone's ODing. And
Right.
it goes back. And that's the inciting incident.
Yes,
That makes them
think
go after that.
works. I think that works really well because I think it's going to have to be something so personal and so personally affronting, if
Yeah.
that's a word, that's what gets them out of Starbucks
Yeah.
and onto the trail of Montclair.
Yeah. But here's another thing. They go to Starbucks every day. They have a relationship with those baristas, and that can come in handy down the line.
Right, because they hear everything and see everything
And
at some level.
yeah. And because also coffee throws off the scent of drugs to a drug dog.
Right.
So they're getting their coffee from the Starbucks and surrounding the barrel where they store it with coffee beans and packed coffee.
Uh-huh.
So,
And so the thing that's puzzling me is that is the tone. Like if it's mostly comedy or is it an action comedy? Like how hard are they hitting and how intense is the drama? Is it a clever, fun comedy or does it turn serious, or like how hard are these women coming at these dealers?
I think my personal preference would be that it's an action comedy.
Seems
Yeah.
like it.
You
We've
know?
had so many action comedies with the old guys,
Yeah.
but we haven't had one with the old ladies.
Yeah.
And I
mean,
think
And
this-
so
if they
it's got real teeth and claws.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that makes a movie work is if it's all drama, you've got to have a couple of comedic scenes. And if it's all comedy, you've got to have a couple of dramatic moments. And actors love to play those,
yes.
you know. And we also need to start understanding about what got this guy to go from being the troublesome kid in high school to being the late 20-something drug dealer. And when they start putting together what his family situation was, that may come into play.
And it might be a thing where they scare this person straight. And he could even become part of the solution when they get in real trouble going after the bigger heavies.
Yeah, I like that. Scare him straight.
I like that. And then his grandmother joins the group.
I think part of the problem with him is he doesn't have a grandmother.
Oh, I thought we were going to use his grandmother to.
No, that was the victim,
Oh, okay. Yes.
you know.
Yeah. The
And
problem is he doesn't have a grandmother.
Yeah.
So he.
And I think maybe the victim becomes a target. When they start going after the supplier, the victim becomes the target to get the grandmas out of the way.
So they come after the grandson.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe that's how they get to the next level of drug dealers up. Because the when when Montclair has been not eliminated, but when when he decided that he sees the error of his ways, and it seems as though this is the end. His boss comes and targets the grandson.
Well, the supplier, yeah.
Yeah,
Because he's the distributor for all of Clearwater Beach, who, by the way, I am sure would say, oh, we don't have drugs in Clearwater Beach.
that's right.
Um, there are so many locations in this place. It really is a beautiful little city. Um, there's also just north of there, when you go up, you drive up the coast, and the next little town is Dunedin. And the downtown of Dunedin is like this little village. It's adorable.
Yeah.
But it's a really well-kept place, and it has a lot of young people.
Where the spiritualists are, or is that?
Oh, that's Casadega. That's further
Casadega.
down. It's on the
That's
Tamiami Trail.
Yeah, that's further away. Dunedin. Yeah.
You know, this is bringing so many things back to me. Yeah. I don't know why I'm such an expert on Florida when I haven't been there much. I've been there a week since 1985. That's it.
Yeah. But these places are really, I think, very memorable.
Yeah. And I think also it's plausible that all these women are there and they're just not ready to stop. You know, they've done all these things. They've been active for, city council people. You know, they participate in all of the local, events. There's also a big lake called Crest Lake that has ducks that people go and just sit around the lake. And that's also a possibility for where they have the transactions. The Friday Night Lights would be it big time.
Maybe the ladies are battling with the concept of really being retired instead of
Yeah, oh yeah.
being so active.
Yeah.
And they're being pulled towards stopping all of their activism and so on. But
Well, they don't have to stop being activists, They can still volunteer in schools. They can be involved in their churches. Churches are also really big down there.
And they say that people who live longest, I was reading an article about like a retirement home, and they say the people who live longest are the ones who are the troublemakers, the ones who refuse to obey the orders, and they will not have their desk on this side of the room, and they like unbolt it from the wall and move it. And they say those are the ones that last. The other ones just kind of melt into it and give up.
wow,
And so
I'm
the
gonna be
people
around
who are like
a long time.
feisty and refuse to just melt into the rocking chair.
Somebody gave me a magnet once, and it said, the more you complain, the longer God lets you live. And I went, I will use that as a mantra. Because I was also an activist for special needs kids and all kinds of things when my kids were in school.
Right.
And, I just think that the cute little old lady who suddenly has spent years and years on Neighborhood Watch and never seen anything, but she's never stopped watching. And, some of them can have their fellas. Some are widowed, some are never married. I remember when I ran into my Brit Lit teacher at the mall with her boyfriend, and she was wearing shorts and they were holding hands, and I was just like the deer in the headlight. Hello? It just seemed so out of context for what I was expecting.
And if they've been active in the community for many, many years, then they're going to have a unique network that makes them much more plugged in and capable than it would perhaps seem at first glance.
Yeah.
And I was also thinking about the level, drug dealers in Florida can be a step up from a lot of other places because there's a lot of hardcore criminals and high stakes.
Tampa is a port city.
Mm-hmm.
Clearwater, you go across Courtney Campbell Causeway, you're in Tampa. It's a port city.
That's a major depot then
Yeah.
for arrivals, yeah. Okay, so then the major action they're stepping into could be pretty big.
Hmm.
And the other thing about these women is you never know who their longtime allies are. You know, one of their buddies might be the head of the FBI, and it's so like I'm thinking as like you get to the ending of what does the fight to the finish look like, you could easily have something where, you know, this big time dealer who's got a leg up on them says, you know, you and whose army, and all of a sudden you could have this vast array of people that have showed up for them.
You know, one thing I would say for Clearwater High School is tons and tons of community service. And years ago, when everybody was doing all these little videos of come see our high school, this tour had every kid in the high school, every sport, every club, who they were charitable, who their charitable enterprise was. And I was so blown away because I had told my husband this thing, and he was like, yeah, I went to a Catholic school, we did that too. And I was just kind of so proud that the school has carried on that tradition of service. So there may be some kind of a trigger from one of the clubs, Keyettes or Alpha Tri High Y or whatever they did, that suddenly pulls all the people up. And it's like, and Keyettes was girls. Alpha Tri High Y was girls. There were two divisions. But that could be a fun thing too at the football game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't grow up in America, so I never went through this sort of system. But I like the idea of being a Keyette.
I was a kid. It was so great. They'd come and they'd deliver you in your classroom a rose. And then in the middle of the night, I mean, they'd call your parents in the middle of the night, they'd come get you in your pajamas and take you to this ritual where you were inducted into the Keyettes. It was great. It was fun, you know. It was no hazing or anything,
Right.
but it was a service club.
Can you spell that word? I can't quite understand it.
Kyettes.
Keyettes, I get it. Okay.
And the Key Club was for the boys, and it was an offshoot of the Kiwanis, which is a
Right,
service,
right.
you know. And I have, over the years, done more community service than anybody I've ever met, and none of it was court ordered. So, you know, I just like that whole concept.
Yeah, and also the idea of kind of waking up a town and activating a town.
Yep.
I like the idea that, you know, there's no drugs in Clearwater, but by the end, we have woken up to the
Yeah.
reality of the issues, and everybody's going to get behind sorting it out.
And if there's a major smuggling delivery operation in that area, you know, then the chief of police or something like that could be corrupt. The one they've actually been dealing with could be the one who's behind a lot of it or a key player in it.
Maybe not so much the police, because I don't want to get into that whole cops are bad thing, but maybe one of the administrators who works
Sure.
in the police department.
Yeah, anything like that. The chief of police is just the like the most obvious stock choice that
Yeah.
you start with. But yeah. And it doesn't seem like this is a movie where the old ladies are pulling out Uzis and shotguns to finish the fight to the
No.
finich.
I don't see that. No.
Not at all.
No, it really doesn't feel like that. And so that's why I'm thinking, well, like you and whose army, like in what way could they resolve the showdown that it would all build toward?
Well, they're going to rely on their feminine skills of communication, collaboration, and community. You know, which is the Kiettes and all the relationships that they have.
Yeah. And the football team on Friday Night Lights, they got two football teams there.
Right. That's an army, and that's two platoons right there.
Yep.
In gear. But you know, hardcore Colombian drug dealers do not respond well to grandmas telling them they shouldn't be doing this. So there needs to be, you know, speak softly and carry a big stick. There's got to be something they can pull out to hit hard.
Well, like I said, if you're going to sell drugs, a large percentage of the people you're going to sell them to are kids.
Right.
And so if they know that if they've already got the dealer, who's the distributor, who is going to help them take down the supplier, and he gets them to the game,
Right.
the guy to the game, then that's where they do the takedown, and then all they have to do is call the authorities.
Okay.
You know, and I mean, this is a place that is not got marijuana legal, so, you know, they take drugs pretty seriously. And
Right.
then you can have them come in like Miami Vice, and it's like, no, we got him. He's right over here. You know, no takedown, just, you know. And I think that could be, you know, a clever scene. That it doesn't take guns to solve crimes.
We still have the grandson who's been kidnapped, I think.
Yeah.
The, so
Good
they
reminder,
have the
thank you.
grandson, and they're going to do some kind of swap. So they're going to swap the grandson, maybe for a tape or for something that the drug that the supplier needs to be able to continue with his business scot-free. And it's all going to happen at Friday Night Lights.
Thumb drive, because everything would be computerized. You know.
Thumb
And-
drive has the name of all of the dealers.
Clients, yeah, all of the dealers' clients. Because they wouldn't have the money with this guy who's further down on the food chain.
Right.
And the supplier still isn't the great big guy.
He's still not, or he is?
No, because the great big guy would be in Colombia or Miami or one of those other places that's, you know, not quite as sleepy. You know, this is like an outpost of distribution.
Yeah.
Is it possible to lure the big shot in so when the hardcore dealers get taken down, they snag the big time guy too, or something like that?
Good.
The Miami guy.
Yeah,
Maybe the Miami guy is a woman.
sure.
The head
Totally.
guy is a woman.
Absolutely.
And they're in Starbucks when they hear about that. Oh, look, they caught that man, the woman. It was a woman. Well, you know, they're very good at business. You know, and just, you know, complimenting her as the takedown. So,
The other variable here is potential other skills that these women might have. For instance, if one of them's husband was in plumbing and heating for many years, you know, then maybe she, you know, can make the boiler blow up as a diversion or sneak the sun out through ductwork or, you know, put a smoke bomb in the ductwork. Just like, are there some skills that would be peripheral, but which could be handy since it's not a, you know, shoot everything in sight movie?
yeah.
I don't think you have boilers in Florida.
They have hot water heaters,
Yeah.
you know.
There's also local critters that, like if one of their friends was a game warden, you know, they could like turn a couple alligators loose in this headquarters or something, and they run faster than a horse on short, you know, they could definitely keep the bad guys busy for a few key minutes.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
I've seen 8-foot rattlesnakes in Florida on a regular basis.
Here's my
No, the worst.
photographic contribution.
Oh,
This is
What is that?
right outside my door the other night, sitting in
A snake?
There's a light above my door. And this frog was just sitting there in the light as all those bugs are coming to the light.
Hmm.
they
Right.
also have bobcats.
Yep.
And the thing that I found, this would to me be, I can only see it as a horror movie. Flying cockroaches. But they have great PR. They're called palmetto bugs because they live in the palmetto.
Right.
Palmetto.
Right.
They're like the most disgusting thing.
Yeah, they're huge.
I'm from New York City, where you go into a kitchen and there's cockroaches and you turn on the light, they scamper. Here they
Yeah.
just fly at you.
Yeah. Come at you. Yeah.
I'm clearly not the best PR person for this place. But
And something like that can make for a great unexpected distraction
Yeah.
to get them in the building or to kick something off. And it
Yeah.
could also be that
Right,
if they're trying to activate the community, maybe they're failing and then they go in and get in over their
oh,
heads. And then the word goes out and people show up.
oh, I like that a lot.
Yeah.
The community does not respond.
Right. And so
That's
it's obviously not like the cavalry shows up and does it for them, but the cavalry shows up and enables them to finish their job.
Yeah.
Or maybe the cavalry doesn't show up, but all the kids get involved. Kids,
Yeah.
Friday Night Lights.
Yeah. Like they're trying to get the parents activated, but
Yeah,
it's the kids who show up.
yeah.
Mhm.
That would
That's
be
cool.
really nice. That
Yeah.
would be really nice.
Yeah. Like led by the two football teams
Yeah.
who like literally go right through doors. They still have their helmets and pads. Like they could literally run through a door like nothing. And there's things like fire hoses and smoke and flooding sewage. You can definitely weaponize certain things without it being a,
Yes.
shotgun everybody in sight.
Oh, you know what? We've got to use the role of the assistant principal, trying to maintain order as they activate.
So the person who's always telling the kids to sit down and shut up is now
Yeah.
telling them to get in there and fight,
No, no, no.
raise hell, break windows.
Sit down. Sit down. We're playing a game. Where are you all guys? Sit down. You're getting excited. You're getting excited. You're getting excited. And I just think that can be because assistant principal is just one of those people that is like they have this much authority, but they really want to get that much authority. And the kids think they have this much authority.
The stakes seem pretty high, but we don't have much in terms of specifics at this point. Is a shipment that's coming in or one that just arrived, or what would be some possibilities for that?
Well, they can get rid of the drugs that are stored on the pirate ship. And the supplier doesn't believe it. And they're coming to say, no, no, here it is. We've got it. I can show you what they did. There's only this much left. There was this much.
Who's getting rid of it?
The old ladies.
Okay. So they
And the
vanish a
suppliers.
big chunk of the main supply.
Right. And then the guy is sitting there almost sobbing, going, he's going to kill me. I have to sell that and get the money to give him.
Uh-huh. So would one of them put up their life savings so he can walk into that room with the 180,000 he needs, and then that kind of gets them one further step up the ladder?
No,
Something like that.
I think then that's when that's what brings them to the higher level, to the supplier.
Yeah.
They think that it's going to be easy, like it was with Montclair.
Yeah. The higher stakes and grandson taken.
Yeah.
Right.
They think it's going to be. They think they're going to just, sass their way through it, and they can't.
Yeah.
And so,
And then they try to activate the community, which is probably, Act 2, and then they can't.
I think we're already in the Act 2 turnaround by this point.
yeah.
23.
Yeah, once it turns serious and the grandson is taken, then it's a question of tone, like how scary does it get, or is there still some aspect of fun? Are the ladies kind of confident and we can pull this off, or are they scared out of their wits? It's like, how much do you push the tone in different directions?
I'm thinking The Last Boy Scout.
Oh, I don't know that film.
Oh,
I saw it just this year for the first time.
Bruce Willis.
Yeah, and the football scandal of some kind, I don't remember.
Yeah.
But it had a like on a scale of 1 to 10, the degree of danger was like a 6 or a 7. It wasn't
Until the final,
insanely life and death. I just don't remember it.
in the final scenes, it gets to about a 9.
Uh-huh.
But they pull a scam where they switch the briefcase, and the guy takes the briefcase with the bomb, thinking he's got the briefcase with the drugs, and you see in the horizon the house explode.
Right.
I think that's more of a model of, I mean, Shane Black had this tone that he set for 80s movies. And even when he came back with,
Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. Yeah.
I think the first 30 minutes of that movie are just brilliant. I mean, I'm a fan of his, but I think that first 30 pages is.
Oh, it's incredible. We just read that script in my 2-year training program this week.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's amazing.
A great coincidence.
Well, we all kind of like read scripts, pass them around, whatever. You know, I
And
mean,
Shane Black is a reigning master of action comedy.
yeah. And a very decent guy, by the way. I've met him. I was very impressed. Because there's so many people who are just so full of themselves, and he's not, or he didn't seem to be on the times I saw him.
I met him once. He seemed like a great guy,
Yeah.
down to earth and friendly.
So what would Shane Black do in this final? I think there has to be a switch where they
The what?
some kind of a switch where they send the supplier who's like upper middle management in this operation, and they send him to the place where he gets taken down, and then he turns on the other okay, I just got a flash on something. He turns on the big dealer who's in Miami, and they're in Clearwater Beach, which is on the other side of the state. But, you know, they all kind of look at each other and go, road trip. And they go down there too. And then they're working on, I want to make them all super tech savvy because I'm so tired of older people being written off as
Right.
not being tech savvy.
Oh, I love that. Yes.
So, I mean, they're all there with the GPS. And as they're going, okay, we have to take oh, do you see this? There's a blah, blah, blah. We should go there, you know, when this is all finished.
And then
Right.
that's the return of the feisty old ladies.
Yeah, this is fun. I
In
think this could
Miami.
be a fun
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah.
And when you think of casting potentials,
I know. It's like gold nuggets everywhere you look of all these actresses who would jump at something like this.
Who are
yeah,
you thinking? Who are you thinking?
everybody. I mean, you have people like Cilla Ward, who we haven't seen in much of anything for decades.
Right. It's like everybody except Meryl Streep because she still gets hired for everything, but everybody else is like, oh, you're over, you're 41 years old. See you later.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's dozens of women who would be incredible.
Yeah.
At one point, I made a list because I'm trying to do a series about aspirational older women who aren't, you know, the quilters. These are the women who are, you know, powerhouses in what they do. And, you know, they are nobody's old ladies. So I made a list, and there were literally like 50.
Wow.
Yeah.
And any one of them is brilliant in a role like this.
Yeah.
But, you know, I keep going back to that whole article. Kaufman. Oh, God, I can't think of her first name. From Friends and Grace and Frankie. Marta Kaufman. I interviewed her on a panel once. She's brilliant. And she just said it would be harder to sell Grace and Frankie today than it was when she sold it. So, you know, that's a challenge.
Right.
But I think for a movie, less than a series,
Right.
there's something that could be done.
And the other kind of wild card here is the gay friend
Oh yeah, we forgot
who could have
a friend.
unexpected skills or whatever. You know, there's kind of standard things like a kung fu master or former military or the opposite, but like what does he bring to the party?
What if the gay friend is modeled on like Randy Rainbow?
Okay.
He's brilliant, I think. And
Right.
then we find that he's capable of going undercover because he had to be in the closet for so much of his life.
Hmm.
And then he can pass himself off as wanting to be a distributor.
Right.
You know, and I mean, the thing is that we have to set this up so that they're not getting real drugs, they're getting crap laced with fentanyl, which is what's killing people.
Right.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, they say it kills people in minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas they said somebody overdosing on heroin, they could lay there for an hour and you could revive them. They said they see people go in minutes now on this stuff.
When my son was on life support for 5.5 months when he was born, that's what happened in my career. And one of the drugs that they would give him to keep him still so that the ventilator could do its job was fentanyl. And they had to have him on oxygen and a ventilator because otherwise the muscles wouldn't move. So, I mean, that's why it kills you so fast.
Right.
And that's so I've known about it for years, but it was shocking to think that they're putting that into the drugs to boost them. And
Yeah.
that all these kids who are so savvy on the internet don't bother to look up what is fentanyl originally used for.
Yeah, it's like instant respiratory failure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if that grandmother hadn't been there and hadn't had that needle in her pocketbook, her grandson would never have made it.
There's an undercurrent of some pretty hardcore, steely determined people sort of wrapped up in a comedic action takedown type
Yep.
thing.
I mean, look, anytime you're going to do something like this, the plausibility factor that a bunch of older women could be doing all the physical activity for the takedown is a low plausibility. It's saying to the critics, come hurt me. But I think when you see that they are just strong intellectually and determined, and they know things that are unexpected. One taught
Yep.
science, one taught, history, one taught all these different things. So those are
Right.
prime skills they have, but also they've stayed in shape. They
Right.
go walking on the beach every night. That's a big, big thing there.
Spinning
Everyone-
classes,
Oh,
weight,
yes,
even
yes.
just basic weights can keep your muscle tone and all that stuff.
Right.
I just looked up actresses 70 years and older, and in the list is Linda Carter.
Yeah.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
Another action hero.
Right.
And look, there's so many
Yeah,
of these, and they're all beautiful.
yeah.
If I would be surprised if they look, when your phone's not ringing a lot, you tend to answer it right away. And what kind of great promotion of all these older people who had huge roles in the culture in the 20th century coming back.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot there.
Yeah. And it's timely with the fentanyl thing and
Mm-hmm.
that kind of thing. And it's
Yep.
colorful. It's got some unexpected flavor. It doesn't go the, shotgunning everybody in sight route.
Mm-hmm.
And it is about, activating a community and taking control of your life and kind of staying feisty.
Mm-hmm.
And the women are really playing for keeps. It's almost like a suicide mission, but if it has a chance of winning, they're going to try it. Oh, and the other thing I was thinking that you were saying one of them could be a history professor.
Mhm.
So, in terms of strategy and tactics, she could say something like, part of the reason why Napoleon lost at Waterloo is because of blah, blah. And this
Right.
guy's making the exact same mistake, especially if we can do this and get him watching one hand while we do the other, or confuse them, and then there's also the kind of Jack and the Giant Killer thing where Jack beats the two giants by poking each one in the back and getting them to think, getting them fighting each other,
Yeah.
is another classic. The movie Fresh did that. Not exactly that, but Fresh was an example of someone with no weapons taking out a major drug dealer just by brain power.
Okay, so here's a list of women who play 60 to 75. Olivia Hussey, since you're British. Ellen Barkin, Andie MacDowell, and I'm bypassing people like Michelle Pfeiffer who are actually on the comeback. Elizabeth Ashley, Catherine Keener, Jane Leaves, Haley Mills, Shoreg Dashlu, Kelly McGillis, Leah Thompson, Bebe Neuwirth, Annie Potts, Kim Basinger, Holly Hunter, Jane Seymour, Sean Young, Sharon Stone. She could have been the biology teacher. I'm just saying. There's so many of these women. Jean Smart's working. Meg Ryan hasn't been in anything lately, I don't think. Veronica Cartwright, Colleen Camp, Sigourney Weaver, Elizabeth Perkins, Judith Light, Mary McDonnell, Bernadette Peters, Pam Grier, Renee Russo, Leslie Ann Warren, Barbara Hershey. It's just, there is a treasure trove of talent to be found here. Okay, so there are women.
And we need a great central villain, because that animates everything else.
Okay, so
we were saying the woman, the heavy dealer could be a woman too.
Yeah.
Which is great.
And they figure that out.
I think she only appears to kind of lead us into part 2, the next movie. She's just right at the end. The main one is that supplier.
The mid-level supplier that they get onto, yeah.
And can I make a suggestion?
Of course.
It's not stealing, it's honoring a concept.
Yeah, homage.
By Michael Mann, an homage, thank you. We use rock stars for the two bad guys.
Alice Cooper or something like that.
Oh, that would be so fun. Yeah.
That's great.
But I think they have to have an ongoing thing figuring out that the big guy in Miami is a woman, which they analyzed by the information they've gotten about the bad guy. I mean, look, there's so much
She's
here.
older as well. Maybe she's like them. Maybe she's an older woman who's gone in a different direction, but she's kind of like them.
Yeah.
Somehow.
You can see somebody like Teresa Russell playing a hell of a supervillain.
Oh, yeah.
She scared the crap out of me in Black Widow.
Oh.
And I have the weirdest story about Black Widow. I watched it in Hawaii with a friend of mine's wife, and she was sitting next to me, and she says, "You won't believe this, but when I lived in Florida, my job was going through mental institutions in Florida and finding people who did not belong there and getting them out." And she found the real woman, the real Black woman's son, was impaired and in a wheelchair. And she had him in a mental institution, and she said, "This person does not belong here." But the more she looked into it, the more she said, the mother is fucking nuts. Do not don't send the kid back with her, even once she'd sort of set it in motion. And they ended up doing that. And then the kid died because she took him out in a wheelchair in a canoe.
Oh, God.
And the canoe tipped over. He went to the bottom, and then she was free to go off and do her thing of marrying millionaires and killing them. So I'm watching this movie with the woman who lived this part of the story with her. It was really, it made the movie more unnerving.
I'm looking for that. Oh my gosh, she's in Queen of the South. She's the head drug dealer in Queen of the South. That's what it is. Veronica Falcon. That's who she is. She
Okay,
is
so
a phenomenal actress. She is just, oh, she's so good. And in this show on Peacock about murder, or something about women murdering, she plays a really bad woman. She's so
it
good.
says she
So
plays
she's really
43 to 55, so that works.
fun. Uh-huh.
You know, it's she's one of Mexico's most versatile and prestigious actors, as well as an outstanding choreographer.
Oh,
So, okay, so in the end, all's well that ends well. And they say, you know, we used to want to save the world. This may be the last best thing we can do for our hometown. We got to roll the dice.
Right.
And, you know, they put it all into, and you know what? You know how everybody always does things in front of a whiteboard? I'd love to see them do this on a blackboard. Okay? That one of them has in their garage.
And does one of them maybe have a former husband who is in law enforcement, so she's savvy about some aspects of that, or is that too cliche, or what?
You know what I'd like even better? That one of them is a voracious reader. One of them is a former librarian.
Right,
And so she used to read all those rough and tumble things like Bosch.
right,
So she's
right,
just been reading all of those uncharacteristic novels.
right. So she knows what certain action heroes would do in this circumstance.
Yeah.
one thing we didn't get to was the differentiation between the women, which I think would
Right,
to set up those differences. I do think one of them is timid and trying to stop anything from happening.
right.
One of them has the grandson, so she's really invested.
And more gung ho probably since, and then maybe one of them's the brain or something like that.
Yeah. But I think one should be a retired nurse, and that's the grandmother, which is why she always has this thing on her purse. And
Right,
she always felt that she would need to be there if she saw somebody ODing. She never expected it would be her grandson.
right. And a nurse is really good in a fight because they know all kinds of things about human body and response to drugs and all that stuff. Somebody once said that if you take any group of four people, they will always sort themselves into an alpha, an enforcer, a joker, and a nerd.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
that's very good.
Even if you put four enforcers in a room, they'll still sort themselves into that.
Uh-huh.
That's interesting.
Yeah. And so, that dynamic, we have four people, that dynamic.
Well, we have five actually with the guy. We have four
Well,
women.
it's three women and a guy is what we had
Oh,
said.
okay.
Oh,
All right. We need to have one leader of the group.
Yeah, definitely.
He was always the one going, I think I found a candidate we need to get behind. Let's walk around and knock on doors. So she was always the instigator.
Right. And that's probably the one with the grandson because that has the mother bear type thing going on.
I would rather see the one that's timid. She's a nurse, she's a healer, and she almost freaked out.
Okay. So it's her grandson, and then the other one who's more of, well, let's go do something about it.
That timid woman, there are hundreds of thousands of those people.
And women of a certain generation are often just, going back to the old, well, they put me in this corner, I'm going to stay in the corner.
Right.
And this is the area I can go into. I
Yeah,
am
absolutely.
like to push boundaries, but only when they need to be pushed.
Yeah, I love that. It sort of makes the story significant. I mean, at the beginning, I think we were just sort of thinking of it as being silly and fun, but I think that really makes it significant.
Well, every character has to be grounded in multi dimensions. You know, my screenwriting teacher, I don't know if I ever told you this, Jeff, my screenwriting teacher at Columbia University was Samson Rafelson, who wrote The
Hmm.
Jazz Singer, the original.
Oh,
Then he wrote for
wow.
Hitchcock, Lubitsch, and he's the one who made me a writer.
Hmm.
And I he would start every class by saying the same thing. A story is about people and what happens to them,
Yeah,
because that's what's going to draw the actresses, not just a bunch
yeah.
of cute old
Yeah,
ladies.
yeah. Hmm.
You know, cute
And
old ladies.
it will suggest certain actions that they would tend to take as well,
Yeah.
and the ways that they fall apart or buck up under stress, and
Hmm.
the ways that they lie to themselves, and what their basic fears are and their basic desires, and the complexities that make them vulnerable in some ways and dangerous in other ways.
Well, this has been fun.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so that seems like that's about as far as we can take this story at this point. Clearly, it needs more, but we've cobbled together a plot, which was the intention here. This is much of this podcast is intended to give people a look at experienced storytellers grappling with a brand new idea and trying to get traction with it and make it into something. And we did that, and it was really fun. Thank you.
Thank you.
Fun. Thank you very much.
Okay.